you're listening to this right now, think about that as we're in 2023. This is the year you don't take payments anymore. Stop the madness. Take your agency back and stop wasting time with payments.
Hello, all of our wonderful agency performance partners, friends, clients, people. My name is Therese, and I am the Agency Performance Partners Training and Operations Coordinator. I have 15 years in the insurance industry, 27 training and teaching, 3 years in marketing, 3 different agencies, up to 11 different offices, 10 cities. I was laid off recently because private equities, and that's how I landed Agency Performance Partners. And I will let Heath, you go next. Intro, Heath.
Hey, I am the Mayor, Heath Sharon. You guys probably heard me before on some of these. Former agency owner, former agent, former carrier rep. Just in love with the industry and in love with the agents I get to work with. And can't wait to talk about this subject today.
All right, and Stephen?
I am Stephen Harrington Dakota, the diva of insurance, as many of you know. A little over 20 years in insurance now. Hello. Started on a farm and worked my way up to a big office with 8 locations. Then they sold and I came to train all y'all. So looking forward to working with y'all.
All right, today we are going to talk about basically trying to get people on EFT and pay in full, and how do we deter them from walking in and calling in to make those payments. So different ways to deter clients from calling in and walking in to make those payments. So one of the big ones is charging an extra fee for payments. People don't like extra fees. Carriers already charge extra fees. Some states allow us to charge fees, some don't. So we have to take that into consideration. You guys have any comments about fees or things your agency's done?
What I was going to say is, even if not charging the fee, but a lot of times the credit card companies charge a fee to the agencies. And so even if it's passing that on, you don't have to be rude about it or a jerk about it. You just be like, hey, the credit card company charges me this, so I need to pass that along, or the bank this, or so there's even that process, part of it. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea of talking about, charging those fees, because again, when that person walks in, as a former agency owner, as both of y'all have worked in agencies, when that person comes in, and I'll use little old lady or little old man comes in, they want to sit down and talk to you for 20 or 30 minutes. And as we know, time is money. When you're sitting there talking to Miss Johnson or Mr. Johnson about their grandkids and what happened here, I can't believe they put a new stoplight over here, or whatever it might be, that's taking you away from money-making opportunities. So I think you're dead on here. I think if you charge that fee, Mr. Johnson's not going to like that.
I was actually at an agency the other day, and I walked in, and the first thing you saw on the door was, all walk-in payments have a $10 fee. Then you went to the front desk, and it was like, we will not waive the $10 fee. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, these people have got this down. And people, they were like, oh, yeah, we make like a tenth of the amount of payments we used to.
Yeah, I've got an agency. Actually, Teresa and I, we both worked on agencies together in Oklahoma, and almost like half of their revenue comes from taking these types of fees.
Yep. So we always want to focus on wow customer service. Wow customer service is important, but sometimes your wow customer service is taking up your time and using that time that we could be using for selling. So when a client comes in, just like in a doctor's office, you have to make appointments, and then you make an appointment. Your appointment's at 2:00. What time does the doctor take you in normally? They'll take you in and sit you in the room, and you're sitting in the room for 30 minutes. So insurance agents' time is valuable too. So if they come in and you're working on something, you can't just drop what you're working on to, oh, let me take that payment for you real quick. So sometimes we need to make them wait and make them realize that just because they walk in to make that payment, they still will have to wait a little bit of time for you to complete what you were doing, let you get that documentation or that note in with the client you were talking to before you proceed to take care of them.
I relate this to, I'm a father of 3 children, and they all think that when they walk into a room, they're the most important person that walks in at that time. And I could be in the middle of a serious conversation with somebody else, and if my kid walks in and starts interrupting, I made them, if you see me talking, stand there and wait a few minutes till I'm done. And sometimes my wife and I'll just keep talking for another 10 minutes just to see if it was that important to them, or if they were just coming to tug on my coattail, daddy, 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 and then they'll just run off and forget it. Or a lot of times they'll stand there and wait. And then when I do say, what did you need now? And they'll be like, oh, I forgot. So again, I think it's the same thing with your client, not to treat them like children, but the same concept. So I would agree with this one as well.
I worked with another agency that I thought this was brilliant. Like this was a real life hack. They had a phone on the front desk, and if you walked in to make a payment, they'd be like, the number's right there, go ahead. And they would have the client call the carrier to do the automated payment process. The client would be like, I got cash. And they're like, sorry, we don't take cash. So you can get a check. You need routing account number or whatever. And they're like, well, I'll go get a money order. They're like, cool. Well, you can mail the money order in, right? So they would hand them an envelope and be like, here you go.
That is fantastic.
Like that's next level.
That is next level. To me, that's like putting a quarter jar back in the 80s. Like, here's a quarter, call someone else.
And some agencies actually will charge a fee for cash payments to deter the cash, because you do have to run to the bank if you have the cash or a money order. You do have to travel to the bank. So you've got more gas expenses and stuff like that. But then you've got people coming in with a credit card and handing you their card. You're just like, why didn't you just go online and do that? So, we need to remind the customer that there are other ways to pay. And sometimes I think they don't know. You can show them the carrier app on the phone and just say, hey, you know how easy this is? You have access to your ID cards. You have access to pay your bills right here on this app or the website, depending. Some companies don't have apps, but they can still do it on the website. So that's an option as well.
You could always, especially in a credit card situation, you can always just say, hey, why don't we just go ahead and pay in full, get those points on your card, get that done. You don't have to worry about coming to see me every month. It's done. And you get a discount a lot of times for paying in full.
Another thing too is what happens if there's bad weather, right? And they can't make it to the office one day. And the only way they know how to pay is by coming into your office. So I think we need to kind of educate them as well on, hey, this is really not the most economical or feasible solution any longer. Like, I'm glad you love to run all over town, but you're probably the same customer that complains that gas went up 10 cents or that bread's now like $2 instead of $1.89.
I mean, what they do during pandemic when they couldn't go in the office. I mean, I would have thought that would deter it, but I guess they came back.
No, a lot of offices stayed open so they could take the payment still.
Oh, jeez.
My offices actually put up baby monitors, the two-way baby monitors.
Okay.
So they had the monitor on the counter and then the other monitor outside, and that's how you communicated with the customer, with the baby monitor.
Wow.
I mean, it's a good idea, but still you're enabling them to still come and pay when they could have just gone online and do it. So, and it's not just the fees that they're actually incurring, but what about the discount they get for paying EFT or pay in full? They get huge discounts for that. So adding the fees together from the carrier, from the agency, and the discounts they're getting, if you add those all up together, they're pretty good discounts.
One of the things I always like to try to put into perspective is if you're taking 10 minutes with a customer to make a payment, that's taking 10 minutes away from a customer that never hears from us, right? So we always like to be like, but we're providing a service, but we're building a relationship, but I think that the bottom 10% of our clients are the ones that are most service intense, take away from the other 80% that never get to hear from us. So we need to value our own time as well and try to build those relationships with the good client that fits the model for the agency.
I couldn't agree more.
And is it the customer that really wants to come in and chit chat, or is it the agent that's sitting there at the desk that wants to just talk and waste?
Well, if my day is full of payments, I can't get to anything else.
I'm too busy.
Right. So I'm okay making payments all day long because then I can pass the responsibility off of everything else I was supposed to do.
Right. A lot of people that take payments, they're not licensed. So they're just the payment takers or the phone answerers. You could also sell, I see that you have auto with us, but you don't have your home. Now they're going to say, I can't do that. I'm not licensed. But you can always get those leads. So every time the customer comes in, if you say, I see you have auto with us, where's your home? And you say that every time they come in, they're going to start saying, well, you say that every time I come in. Well, it's part of the agency's. I'm required as part of my job to ask you that question because it's more convenient and it's cheaper for you if you have them together. So every time you come in, I'm required to ask that question. So it gets to the point where like, I don't want to go there anymore. They ask me every single time. And then maybe it'll force them to go on the app or the website to pay it. Or they might actually get their homeowner's insurance with you. which would be a great cross-sell opportunity.
When I was managing an agency, I had it several times where I didn't realize people were saving credit card information or checking account information, either in the client file or in a notepad in their desk, like shut it down, right? And I was like, I was like Macaulay Culkin, like, right? I was like, what is this? And I only caught it because the client called and was raged that so-and-so wasn't in the office, because they would just call and say, hey, Susan, go ahead and just make my payment this month. And Susan would go into her little notebook and find the credit card number, process the payment, and send off the email. Because Susan was the helpful one, right?
Wow,
and names are fictitious and don't have to do with any real life people. Let's just throw that disclaimer in there.
Right. But this is not a real E&O nightmare. This is a fake scenario.
Hypothetical situation that I may or may not have done and changed names to protect the innocent.
Well,
and the client's like enraged. And so it gets to me as the manager. And I'm like, lady, why would you want us to have your credit card number? She's like, well, it's secure. I'm like, it's in a notebook on somebody's desk. And she's like, excuse me? And I'm like, what did you think we did with it? Well, I just assumed it was secure like the bank. And I'm like, well, I would recommend we set up EFT or reoccurring credit cards. So it's processed from the carrier's bank to your bank and we're not involved.
And you have those clients that don't trust insurance agencies at all, don't trust apps at all. And then you have the ones that trust them too much, because that your agency is not the only one, Stephen. I've worked in so many, and the carriers actually save the card, and you click on it. Now, in that case, it usually only you say, "Oh, is it the card with the last 4 digits?"
Right.
But what we're not realizing is when we do that, we're actually making it easier for them to call in and make that payment. So we have to stop saving those cards, stop writing them down. That's a no-no. Oh, that's an accident waiting to happen. But definitely, even if it's in the system, make them read the card out to you every single time. Don't save them, because it's not safe for the client, and it's going to take them more time. And then they're not going to want to come in or call in to pay. They'll maybe start doing it, on the computer.
Yeah.
So
I would love to know the numbers. If the agencies that did make this transition to say we're not doing this anymore as an agency, kind of like your extreme example, because of fear, right? The fear is they're going to lose customers. I would love to know the numbers of how many they actually lost. I would probably guess
statistically
a small
prove
percentage.
Out of like 10,000 customers, we lost less than 10.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I would guarantee it'd be less than 1%.
And 3 of them were people that refused to do anything but cash, and they would not go get a money order because it cost them extra, and they would not pay the fee when we tried the fee thing, right? And I'm like, they're like, I'm not paying extra for you to take my payment because my insurance is too expensive already. And we're like, cool, then why don't you go down the street and hopefully they'll take cash for you?
Yeah,
but it was like minimal, like under 0.1% of 1% were affected. A bunch complained at the beginning because it was something different, but no.
With that being said, if you're listening to this right now, think about that as we're in 2023. This is the year you don't take payments anymore. Listen to Therese, read the blog. There's 6 steps and solutions and all this stuff. How many solutions there are to stop this? Stop the madness. Take your agency back and stop wasting time with payments.
Yes, and read this blog. This one is titled Payment Process Designed to Get Clients on EFT and Pay in Full. We hope you visit our website at agencyperformancepartners.com. We've got our wonderful consultants here with Kelly and a new one possibly coming on board soon. So we are ready to take on all of your challenges. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Holla.